Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, I'll be showing you how to make a music store for all of your city building needs. The music store features a modern design which is modeled on a jukebox, ejecting a record with a musical note above the entrance. The store has a very cozy lounging area and carries pretty much everything that you would expect a music store to carry, to sell, or just to use whilst you're in the store. I think that this store is one for the records. Oh, God, that was bad. Just insert your own music related joke. If you're new around here and building a city, please subscribe and click the little bell next to the subscription button to keep up to date with all of my city related builds that I'm building every single week. Feel free to suggest some as well. But without any further ado, let's get started. Alright ladies and gentlemen, so just before we start building, I want you to be prepared. This tutorial is split into two halves. The first half we are going to be focusing on the outside of the building, so everything we see from the outside. That requires these materials that you can now see on the screen. You should be able to see all of those and how many you will need as well. That is what we're going to be starting off with, so feel free to pause the video, gather all of those materials, and once you do have those, we are ready to begin. But just to let you know preemptively, these are the materials that we are going to need for the inside of the building. So if you just want to make sure that you're going to be able to grab those later on, or if you want to grab them now so you're more prepared, that is what we are going to be using later, and I will show you this list again just in case you do want to tackle that a little bit later. The build requires a 12 by 11 block area. Feel free to build this grid in your world if you are working on a city. This will encompass all of the space required to make the entire shop. And as always, pause the video if necessary, gather those materials, make sure you have enough room, and once you're ready, we can begin. So, step one, my friends, I'm going to come all the way to the front right hand corner of the grid. I'm then going to count to the left 1, 2, and then inwards by 1. This is the starting position if you've made the grid, that way we're both starting in the exact same place. On top of this block, place 2 yellow concrete. 1, 2. On top of that, place 4 black concrete. 1, 2, 3, 4. Extend that to the right by 1. And take the bottom 2 black concretes and extend them each left by 1. 1, 2. That just looks like a music note, just in case you were wondering. I want you to go left of the music note, take the bottom left hand corner black concrete block and place a yellow concrete left of it. Join it down to the ground. Also take that block that you extended down to the ground and go left by 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are then going to move backwards by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're then going to come across the back of the build by 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then join down to the ground. As easy as that. So what we now want to do is take out our grey concrete. And we want to place a row of grey concrete that sits inside of the yellow concrete shape that we have just made. Except the grey concrete wants to be placed on the ground, which sounds a bit tricky, but when you look at it from the top, it's fairly easy to see what I'm talking about. So when you come down below, you can see it just sits perfectly inside of the yellow border that we created. I want you to add another row of grey concrete directly on top of the left side of the grey concrete row, so seal that wall up. I want you to add an additional grey concrete here on the front right side of the building, and also here on the back left side of the building. These are windows, so feel free to fill them in using white stained glass pane, white stained glass block, or any other type of window material. What we are now going to do is focus a little bit more on the rest of the build. As you guys may have noticed, this building is essentially a giant jukebox with a record in it. And we are going to start the jukebox shape by placing a black terracotta coming back out of the right of the entrance. So there's the entrance, that's the first block that we actually ever placed, and we want to place a black terracotta coming out of the back of it. A regular terracotta on top, and then a black, a regular terracotta, a black, regular, and then a black one. And that should poke out of the top of the building one row higher than the musical note. I then want you to go left of this black terracotta by using a just normal terracotta, and then a black, normal, black, normal, black, like that. We are going to extend that black terracotta down so that it would connect to the roof of the building. I also want you to establish the shape of the jukebox by extending back the corners of the jukebox by placing a terracotta coming from each corner, a black terracotta, regular, black, like this. That should pretty much line up with where that grey concrete is down on the ground. And we want to do this to both corners, like this. And we can even join them together. It's the same pattern over and over again. And then you can extend the corners back down towards the ground, like this. And this corner here will extend down and connect to the top of the roof, like that. So now you can see the general shape of the jukebox. What we're now going to do is fill in the sides. All we have to do is make sure that we repeat the same pattern over and over and over again, which is one black terracotta and then one regular terracotta. That is all we have to do. As long as we keep repeating that pattern, no matter what way we fill in the jukebox, it really doesn't matter what order, what side, where you start, where you end, as long as you adhere to those simple rules, you will eventually end up with this. A checkerboard, a chessboard, whatever you want to call the pattern, it's pretty much the same thing. You only want to place enough of the pattern to fill in the outer walls. So on the back, for instance, which is what we are focusing now, you don't want to place so much that you're like coming down into the building. You only want to cover up the empty space looking inwards from the outside. The same goes here as well. It might benefit you to build it from the inside. That way you can see all of the empty space that we are going to be creating. When it comes to the musical note, however, I am just going to add a couple more blocks just like that. And I might even have it come down so it just covers up the black concrete. That looks a little bit nicer in my opinion. What I'm also going to do, by the way, is add yellow concrete on top of the glass on the inside of the building, and then on top of this grey, and it's just going to come around and connect to all of that. And what I think I'll do is I'll tell you what, I'll have it so that the yellow comes as far as here, but then on the inside, I'm just going to seal this up a little bit like that. So just to make the room a bit squarer, a bit easier to fill in, that looks a lot cleaner than what we had. And then I'm just going to join this side of the build together as well. And we will also have to do the top. The top isn't like open. So we are going to have to, once we get up here, we're going to have to do the same thing up here as well, of course. If you wanted to, you could leave some glass in the ceiling. If you just wanted to have glass, then it'd keep things nice and bright. But I feel as though the way that I've got the build set up anyway, it's already got a skylight and quite a bit of light. You don't really have to, but that is completely your choice. So we've almost completed like quite a bit of the actual shop itself. We have to add some glass to this point here. That is the skylight that I was referring to. You could even add another row here, but you'd actually be building directly on top of the wall on the outside. Now that we've done this, we are going to add a record to the top of the building, popping out of the top of the jukebox. I think that this is a cool effect. Find the middle of the building at the top of the left-hand side of the build and place a black concrete on top of the middle left of the building. Extend that to the right using a grey concrete, red concrete, black, red terracotta, and then grey, black, And then on top of the grey concrete, place a black. On top of the red terracotta and concrete, place a grey. Place a red concrete on top of the black. And then place black on top of the grey, red, grey. Like that. And that is a record. I'll show you some other colour schemes that you can do with the record a little bit later. So, now that you have done that, we are going to talk about the outside of the build. And this is where your own personal preference comes into play, by the way, because you don't have to do any of what I'm going to show you, and that's why I didn't include it in the material list. As a matter of fact, the only thing that I am going to recommend is that, of course, you put a door on it, and you use a little bit of smooth stone around the build. So, I'm going to destroy a couple of rows inside the record shop, or the music shop, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to place some smooth stone and a dark oak wood door. The door is situated one row inwards underneath the note. I'm going to destroy all of the area around the record store. I'm going to replace all of the grid that I marked out using smooth stone, or alternatively smooth stone slab. It's the same effect. I don't know what access to materials you guys have, but this is kind of meant to be built in like a city or a town, or like, you know, a built up area. So that's why I'm going to recommend, instead of stone, you use whatever material it is you are using in your city. So like whatever pavement sort of material that people are walking around on in your city, I'd recommend using that rather than just like the smooth stone effect. And you see, that looks good and all, that looks great, but we are going to, and I'm just going to give you a couple of options here. So if you want, you can add some like plants around the record store. You could add like a bit of grass, and you can use a little bit of any sort of trapdoor really, and any sort of flower as well. And if you like, you can just add some flower arrangements to the sides of the building. So make sure that you place dirt or grass one row away from each side of the building like this. And if you clad them using some sort of trapdoor and then put flowers in them, no matter what variety, it will look quite nice. You don't have to do this by any means at all. You really can just do whatever you want. Or you can use different trapdoors, and you can use different flowers, and you don't have to use grass, and you can place them in different ways. I find it adds a little bit more colour to the shop. The reason being that I used red is because the record is red. Continuity. Okay, so what else can we do to our record store to customize it? Well, if you don't want to have a red record, you could easily have a green, or a yellow, or an orange. It doesn't really matter, as long as there are two of a colour. So like, with green, you've got lime green and green concrete. If you want, you can turn the red concretes into lime, and then the red terracotta into a green, kinda looks like an eye of Ender. If you wanted to use blue, then you could indeed use blue. Or purple. You guys get the idea, right? So like, you can change that to mold it to anything that you like. It really is up to you. And the last thing that we're going to do is we're just going to write music onto the outside of the shop. And this is my least favorite part of the tutorial, ladies and gentlemen. So, how do we do this? We need banners. We need a crafting table as well. We need 5 white banners, white dye, red dye, and you also need a crafting table. So I'm going to slap the crafting table down onto the ground, and we're going to MUSIC in that order. So, kicking this off with M, I want you to place a white banner right in the top middle of the table. Red dye to the left, right, and underneath. Grab the new banner and place it in the center of the table. Place white dye left, right, and above the banner. Grab the banner and place it in the center of the table, and place red dye coming up the left side of the banner. Grab the new one, chuck it in the center of the table, and place red dye coming up the right side of the banner. You essentially have M, but if you want to make your letters look cleaner, you put them in the center of the table, and you use the same color as the original banner, and you place it around the side of the letter. And that will give you a much smoother, cleaner appearance. So there, perfect. We have an M. Let's move on to the next letter, which is of course U. White banner in the middle of the table, red dye coming up the left side. Grab the new banner and place it in the center of the table. Place red die coming up the right side. Grab the new banner and place it in the middle of the table and place red die coming along the bottom. Grab the new banner and place it in the middle of the table and place white die all the way around the outside to give you that nice, crisp U. Let's do S. So S, middle of the table once again, place red die coming across the top, grab the new banner, if you can, and place it in the middle of the table, place red die coming across the bottom, new banner, place it in, I do believe it's the middle left of the table, and place a diagonal row of red die coming across from the bottom right corner to the top left corner. Grab the new banner, place it in the middle of the table with white die all the way around it, just like that. And there you have an S. Bloop. Now we have to do I. This is actually incredibly easy. Banner in the middle left of the table with a row of red die coming top to bottom in the middle. Grab the new one, place it in the middle of the table, and then white die all the way around it. Easy as that. Place that next to your S. Perfect. Grab a new banner, place it in the center of the table with red die coming across the bottom. Grab the new banner, place it in the center of the table with red die coming across the top. Grab the new banner and place it in the center of the table with red die coming up the left side. Grab the new banner, place it in the center of the table, and place white die all the way around it to give you AC, which now, of course, spells out music. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the outside of your shop 100% fully completed. That is all that I have to recommend that you do to the outside. Now, we are going to see about doing the inside of the shop. That requires all of these materials that you can see on the screen in front of you right now. Please, pause the video if you have to. Gather all of those materials. Once you're ready, we can begin. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we have both gathered, hopefully, all of the materials that we will need for the inside of the music store. Feel free to pause the video once again if you have to. Make sure that you've gathered all the stuff and then we can get started. So, first of all, I'm going to come inside the music store. That's step one. I'm going to first refloor the music store. And I'm going to place iron block. I don't know why, it kind of just spoke to me. Iron block instead of the grass that we have in here. I'm even going to replace underneath the door as well. I'm going to destroy that, place iron, and then I'm just going to replace the dark oak wood door onto the iron block, because I think it would look a little bit weird if we had just like one stone in here and a load of iron. So that's exactly what I've done. So iron just kind of spoke to me. Feel free to use a different flooring material if you like. Okay, so now that we have our fancy new iron floor, we're going to add a few details to the inside of the shop. So number one, there is a lounging area. We place a green concrete in the front left corner of the shop, 2 oak wood stairs coming out from that, and then another green concrete. I'm going to extend the yellow concrete in this wall 1 row forwards, and place a chest going left of the lounging area. I also want to place 2 double chests coming outwards along the side wall, outwards from the sofa/lounging area. The shop also has a counter. The counter is where you would like pay for your records and stuff. Not beginning from the back right hand corner of the build, but 1 row in front of it, we want to have a row of 1, 2, 3 yellow concretes coming out from the wall. Place a cash register, aka quartz stairs, on top of the middle block, with a chest just behind the counter to keep stuff in. what we are also going to do is place a tripwire hook above where the door is, and that's kind of just like, you know, sometimes when you go in a shop, like you open the door and it like hits a bell. That's kind of pretty much what that is. We are going to place item frames in these positions. Number 1, above where we have this single chest next to the sofa. We are going to have item frames completely above the double chests and side wall. Preferably with no item frame inside of the item frame. We're also going to place some item frames coming along the back wall here. It's going to start in front of the yellow concrete that we have up at the top, and it's just going to come horizontally above where the cash register is. I don't think that we need any of these materials that we have in our inventory again, so I'm just going to dump them and grab the weighted pressure plates, flower pots, yellow carpet, green carpet, torch, and painting. I want to have a painting somewhere on this wall here, but I'm not sure how big I want it to be. I know that I don't want it to be that big, and I'm probably going to have to grab some guiding blocks. I'm thinking maybe just a 2x2. Not that one, maybe that one. That looks kind of nice. I might even place like a torch coming outwards here next to the cash register. And maybe one just left of the door as well. There's not really any other good positions, but we could place some a little bit higher here if we wanted to keep the area nice and bright. I'm going to use flower pots as decoration, placing one on the lounging area, one next to the cash register, and then maybe a weighted pressure plate just because it looks like something. Now, all we're going to do is place a little bit of carpet just in this little corner square here, or the middle square of the room here, and it's just going to be yellow and green, kind of like inversely. If you want, you could extend this coming out in front of the counter, and that would look just fine as well. So the only thing that we're missing now is to fill the item frames up with something. So I am going to recommend that you fill them up with records. I am not including these in the item list, although I will include one. You will know how many records we will need, but there's multiple things you can put in these. I mean, you can put note blocks, you could put jukeboxes, and you can just put straight up records in these item frames. So like above here, for instance, maybe you could put like note blocks, and above like maybe like, I don't know which one, maybe this one you could put like a jukebox. But then you're going to want to populate a lot of these with music discs, and it's preferable really to use different ones as well. So how far did we get? About here. That one looks nice, that one looks nice, that one looks nice. Did we use a black one already? No. So here, here, and here, and it just looks good. So those could also be records as well. But yeah, it's just a nice cozy little music shop. You can buy music blocks, you can buy record players, aka jukeboxes, or you can just buy actual records and stuff as well. And that's pretty much everything, ladies and gentlemen. So this is what the store will look like once it has been 100% fully completed. The outside is very simple. It's pretty much just a large jukebox with a record coming out of it. There's only one entrance, there's a couple of windows, one on the front, one on the back, some flowers surrounding the area, and a musical note coming out of the entrance as well, which kind of shows you where to go. And speaking of the entrance, we're going to come inside now, and as you can see, we have a nice, cozy, friendly, warm interior with everything that you might expect to be in a music store. So jukeboxes, we have note blocks, we have every single record pretty much, and it's just a nice, cozy place that you can listen to music or you can buy it as well. And that's that. I do hope that you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. If you have, please do remember to hit that like button, as it really helps me and the channel out very, very much. If you would like to keep up to date with the channel, subscribe and click the little bell next to the subscription button to ensure that you get all my stuff sent directly to your sub box. And not only that, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to make any more of my city related builds, these are all of my brand new ones. I show you how to make the insides, the outsides, everything block for block, including how many materials that will require. We have Subway, Starbucks, KFC, Burger King, Pizza Hut, just a cool cafe, and we have, of course, McDonald's, and now we have this music store. All of that is in the card system description below the City Builds playlist. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I appreciate all of you very, very, very much. I'll see you in the next one. I'm going to jump off the top of this record and see if I can hit the ground. Goodbye.